So my husband came and he told them, yeah, this one, maybe I'm the one who diverted her. She ought to be in the kingdom. So I've given her back to you guys. So you take her. So I went back. I wrote my resignation letter and gave the bank 1 month. As soon as I wrote that resignation letter and it was received, my bank was restructuring the same year. The list of those people who were supposed to go home on retrenchment came. My husband's name was number 1.
Good evening and praise the name of the Lord. It's that time when we bring to you the Gorgeous Woman Show, and as always we are excited about the women and the ladies and the girls that God has assigned to us. And one of our key elements in doing this program is to inspire, to encourage, to motivate, and of course to just let people know that there's a God who changes and turns around stories. And I have such a guest today. Her name is Pastor Judy Kagore Ligaga, a woman of faith. When you hear her story, you will see a journey of faith, a journey of resilience, and a woman that does not just easily give up, because the Bible says, do not be weary of doing good, for in due season you will reap if you don't give up. So her story is about her calling, her family, and she'll tell us more about it. So karibu sana, Pastor Judy.
Thank you so much, Reverend.
Yeah, we are so appreciative that you've come from Nakuru.
Thank you.
And you did all the best to be here and just be an inspiration to a woman and to somebody watching us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I am also grateful that you'd have me. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
Thank you so much.
So you had indicated in your brief that you are a banker by profession.
Yes.
And now a pastor.
Yes.
Now that's another whole story we'll talk about, but maybe tell us more about where you were born, your siblings, your parents, just a bit about how you grew up.
Okay, great. I am born and brought up in Nyeri, Udaya. I'm an only child of my mother's womb, but I am raised with other stepchildren.
Yes.
I grew up just like any other child.
Yeah.
Went to Kairode Primary School.
Yes.
Then after that, I went to Udaya Girls, and I finished my Form 4. Then after that, I joined college, and that's when I had a dream. As a little girl, I always wanted to be a banker. So
I know, and dream has come. Dream came true.
So the dream came true. I went to Rongo. It was then called the Rongo University. Currently, was then Moi Institute. So I went there and did my diploma in banking. And in the process, as I was taking my diploma and as I was growing up, let me say I grew up in church. And my heart and God were intertwined from a very young age.
Yes.
So even as I'm going to college, I began to serve very early. In my college, I was in the CU, I was an official. So in between my being a banker, there was a call of God somewhere, but I was pursuing
it was hidden by the multitude of business.
Yeah. But generally, by the time I was coming to complete my banking course, I had a stamp in my spirit that I ought to serve the Lord. So what I did is that once I finished college, as any other banker would rush to look for a job, I did not look for a job. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, so I told the Lord, I really do want to serve. And at that time, I was surrounded by men of God that were key in raising people that had a heart for young people. So I was mentored into ministry, and I began to work with little children. My first ministry assignment was in Mombasa. I worked with children with an organization called Awana. And I was a full-time minister, just teaching children, going around, helping churches put up Sunday schools.
Were you on payroll?
Yes, I was on payroll, and it was payroll to make sure you have food and
transport.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then after that, I just continued to serve on, and I came back to my hometown. By then, my parents were working at the General Hospital in Karatina, and I joined a Pentecostal church, and I began to serve there as the cleaner come secretary to the pastor's office, and I served for a number of years. And in between there, as usual, when the Lord is taking you to a journey, you never know why seasons began to change. And when the seasons began to change, there was a little bit, I began to feel like I am becoming depressed. You know how ministry is, and you begin to feel like, Lord, I think I need out. And I thought I can run away. So I demanded, and I told him, I am a banker. Give me my job. He is faithful. The Lord gave me a job. And I went now to work for a bank, one of the good banks. I worked for Barclays Bank. I got my first job, and I joined Barclays Bank in the year 2008. And I started working. And in between there, what I did not understand is that because the Lord was taking me to a journey, and through a journey, he had spotted my husband. And my husband was in the banking industry. And there was no way me and my husband would have met paths unless I moved. And of course, as I joined the bank, we continued to work. I actually had no intention of getting married. This was my notion. I used to say, me, I am a minister, I'm called into ministry. So I didn't bother with, I was not disturbed by relationship issues at all. That one is something I usually tell people, because my mind was never there at no one time. So as I continued to work in this particular organization, this man who was somehow my supervisor began just to keep on saying, no, utakuwa bibi yangu. And I would really laugh.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, hold that thought, and then we are going to take it from there, our viewer. This is just a tip of the iceberg. The story is big. Don't touch that. I will share with your friends and family. See you after the break. So welcome back, our viewer. My guest is none other but Pastor Judy Kagore, and she's an author, by the way. She's written a book called Faith in the Storm, and it's just a testimony of what God has made her go through and overcome. You know, you don't know how it feels to lose a career, of course, lose a pregnancy, go through some challenges of raising a kid with special needs. But when you go through it and you still can talk about it, that is now where the gorgeousness comes out. Because when you look at her story and her smile, they don't tarry, because the joy of the Lord is her strength. Yes. So now your supervisor has a crush on this girl and is saying, you're going to be my wife.
Yes, and I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, you're so lost. I am not getting married to no one. Not especially you, so I am not interested.
What was the turn-off?
Because my path and his were like totally different. I'm thinking, this guy, I don't think he can even understand halfway that I'm called in the ministry. So I don't think he can.
So you are just like a Jonah.
Yeah,
you are in Tarshish, but you know your ministry is in Nineveh.
Exactly. So with a lot of it went on, by the way, for like a year or so. He pursued me almost for a year, and at the end of this particular year, I had another brother who was born again in our team.
Now the proper one.
Yeah, the proper one who fitted, but he was a married man. So one day he's the one who called me and said, you know, so-and-so has told me unamlenga sana. So I'm thinking, so now he has sent you. I said, no. I was just thinking, what if the Lord, you know, is saying something and you are blind to it? Then I said, where you've been sent to come and force me to agree. I don't want. Then he asked me, have you even prayed about it? Ama ni kusema tu hutaki. Mbia si mimi nilikwambia, I don't want to get married. So as we were discussing, I said, okay, what if then he's the one? Number one, he's the wrong tribe. I don't think even my parents can even go that direction. So wacha tuachane tu na hii story. And then as I was there and I began to like look at it and give it a little bit of attention, I actually told God, if I call my mom and I tell her I have this man who is interested in me, but he's not of my tribe. He's of this other tribe, and my mom does not cause havoc, I will know it is okay. And I started the story for a long time. Now, my mom had never met my boyfriend or ever had anything like that.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm calling her to tell her, she's listening and she's thinking, because now my age was also really going. And my mother was wondering, Kwani, what did this girl ever decide? And of course, she can't ask me.
Yeah.
You know, mothers are just, maybe my dad is going like, no, you, nini. But anyway, so I told her, Mom, there's this guy we work with. He's like this and like this, and he wants to marry me. Then my mom was like, okay. And I said, I've not finished. He comes from. Then I finished. Then she's like, should that be a problem? Oh, it's not. I said, no, I've been waiting for a son for the longest time. So I'm like, okay, then it's fine.
Wow, so you are just looking for obstacles.
Yes, then
and you got a breakthrough.
I got a breakthrough. So I told this guy, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, second hindrance was this. The man was not born again.
Oh my God.
Yes. So now I told God, now my mom has accepted. What will my pastor say? My pastor has seen me grow. I myself know this is the wrong thing to do. My brother here who is encouraging me is saying, what if this is your heavenly assignment and you are refusing it? Then I'm telling him, there's nowhere like that in the scripture, brother. Kuanguka tu, as in I'm backsliding for real without actually saying. Then he's like, what is sin? You cannot be unequally yoked
with an unbeliever.
Anyway, we had that conversation with that young man. That he's watching. I know he's watching. He will laugh at this because finally, after so many back and forth, I really prayed and I told God, I will not say you have told me yes, but my mom has said yes. And for that reason, let me give this man a chance. And of course, now that will put you in an awkward place with the church. And I was in an awkward place, and I completely understand, and I did not even have a problem. We didn't even fight with my pastor. We just disagreed. And then he said, now we can't officiate the wedding. I said, there is no problem.
So you even didn't put pressure on him to get born again?
No. Most of my believer friends, and I think those are some of the things I like talking about, most of my believer friends were like, guys, sipasi umambia ukoke, ndio hii kitu. Nikawambia, okay, if he gets born again because of this, what if he doesn't stand? What will I tell myself? I better just go into it knowing he's not born again. But one thing I proudly say is that I maintained my stand in terms of salvation, in terms of purity, until I walked down the aisle. So
by this time, have you fallen in love with him?
No, I am marrying him for huruma. I don't love him. I am hurumiaing him. I am
Pastor Judy, you're so honest.
I am from Rumiaing. I'm
like, this guy has already been on your case for
so long. And then I am this born again believer in this sector that people are not really into God. And then he's saying, mi napendanga tu venye unaomba, the way you're always going to preach. Then I'm thinking, am I mad? What am I getting myself into? And then he would even call, like when we are leaving work, he says, so what's your plan for the weekend? Are you going to that church? I can take you. Then I'm thinking, Father in heaven, this is wrong. And then he actually respected me to the very end. He knew I am not the type to sleep around. I'm not the one to touch. He knew these are my boundaries. If we are doing coffee, we do coffee. I go home, you go home. We are done. Finally, we came to the place of getting married, and now I have many pastor friends. So one of my pastor friends said, this is crazy, but okay, fine, let's go ahead.
So had you heard the voice of God?
What made me marry this man is what my brother said. That brother friend of mine we worked with, he asked me, what if after you've done everything you've done in ministry, you appear in heaven and you're asked about this one? What if you are the only messenger for this one?
That was quite a challenge.
Now that is what finished me. And I told God, here we are not with anyone. No one is going with me. Nobody is agreeing with me.
So you never preached to him or
Not a single day. He will tell you his testimony. He's my assistant pastor now. We minister together, but he will tell you his testimony when you have a men's show. Not a single day did I ever open the Bible. No. To tell him if you don't get saved, you'll go to hell. No, I never. Not a single day. But he got saved 2 months after our wedding. That's when he got saved. He literally walked himself to the altar with no pressure, no nothing. It was a different story. He walks to the altar. Me, I was at the altar for a different issue. I am rising, and then I'm hearing the altar call for salvation, and the person who stands up to go is my husband. and I'm screaming and shouting everywhere, and people are thinking, what's wrong with this one?
So I'm trying to figure out.
Yes.
Now this is Judy, church girl.
Yes.
Getting married to Lee Gaga, not born again.
Very far from the church.
Very far from the church.
Yeah, the club guy.
He drinks, he does
Like
everything.
madness.
Wow.
Yes.
So how did you redeem yourself? How was that journey?
Yes.
How did the believers, were you isolated?
Yes. It was a journey of, I now went, I'm a person of prayer, but now this took me deeper because I told God, this journey is yours and mine. When I come to heaven, I will only stand, and if you judge me to go to hell because of this, I'll tell you, I was told this soul will go to hell if I don't marry this soul. So it is you and me. So I began a journey. Of course, many now, remember, I've been in ministry, I've been serving. So there's a lot of controversy, a lot of how will we even go to this wedding? How will we even participate? How will we stamp this? And I am telling you, I was completely okay because I knew the path I've taken is not the right path.
It's not
the right
one,
path,
yeah.
and it's not the normal one. And I tell girls, don't go in your madness marrying people that are not born again, unless you hear God audibly, because what I will go through for the next couple of, it's not a joke. Yes. So we get married, and now we have to move.
So who officiated the wedding?
A friend of mine, a pastor friend of mine, officiated the wedding. It was a garden wedding. So he said...
So you are not holy enough to go to the...
No, I was not holy enough to go to a church altar, which I did not have a problem with. And
oh my God.
This man of God was a friend of mine. So he told me, you know, I've known you to do crazy things, but this one is beyond. But I will stand with you because I know your heart.
Yeah.
So a few ministers that are my friends stood with me. I married this man. And now, you know, after that, people leave you.
Of course.
Let us watch and see. This guy is going to take this girl down so hard, she will not believe herself. And now you're now living that life of isolation because you cannot talk among believers. You cannot talk unless among those friends of yours that really believe in you and know for sure.
And they consider you as human.
Yeah, they consider you as human. So my circle of friends suddenly diminished. So now my company is this my guy now. Now that's where our relationship...
So he's still drinking, he's still doing his stuff, or
yes.
That did not change after the wedding?
That one did not change after the wedding. Yeah, even in the honeymoon, it didn't change. So reality hits and it dawns on you. You can't jump out. Everyone has already told you about it. So what do? You just walk, cry in the night, wake up and tell God, is this thing going to like... kutabadilika ama itakuwaje? So we had to move towns because now I was living in Karatina, then I had to transfer and work. We couldn't work in the same branch anymore now after we are married. So when we transferred, we had to relocate. When I transferred, now we had to move from Karatina and move to Nyeri. And that's how now I moved to a new church. Because now I could no longer go to the town.
And that was easier for you as
That was easier for me as well. So when I moved to this new church, there's something I also told God, now because God have messed up, but I did not sleep with him before marriage. But now because I have done something that is not right, I do not want to bring shame to the altar. So allow me to just sit. Usinifungie binguni, wacha tu binguni nitakuja. But now I will not do ministry anymore. I will not do ministry anymore. Nitakuja tu because unajua mimi na wewe tunajua I'm still clean. Yeah? So allow me not to do ministry anymore.
That's so honest.
Yeah. So now I moved to this church where now nobody knows me. Mm-hmm. So now nobody will even know that I am a minister.
Yeah,
so,
they will not even know the details of how you got married.
They don't know. So me, I just chill and go to church. Now, the thing that helped me is that the minute we moved, the reason why we had to go to this particular, we moved town, but we could drive to my church, my former church. But this particular Sunday, my grandmother said she's going to visit me. My grandmother is very dear to me. So we saw if we go to our church, drive to the other town, Shosho will come and there will be no one at home. So I remembered now this particular church and I told him, no, there's another church we used to go when we were in college here in Nyeri. let me just find out if they have a first service. So I found out they have a first service. So I told him, we can go do first service there, then we come and wait for my grandma.
So he was still like God loving.
Yeah, he was God loving. Now, what made me stay in this church, when we entered the door of that church, he stood. He like was wowed. He was like, wow, this is an awesome place. Let me tell you what, you continue going to your church, me, I'll be coming to this church. This is my church. There, I decided I am no longer going to my church. If this guy will willingly come to this church, we are coming to this church. Now, that is how we stayed there.
Wow.
So now we joined this church. Nobody knows me, but unfortunately, I am known. So I was thinking nobody knows me. When I arrive in that church, I find the caterer who did my wedding and the lady who did the decor are leaders in that church.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm thinking, okay, all right. No problem. But you see, they don't know the details of my wedding. Yes. I just outsourced. So then I enter and I'm like, see, that is the lady who did my cake and my food. And that other lady there is the lady for the decor. I'm like, there's no problem. Them, they are excited and they tell their pastor, we know that couple. We gave services to their wedding. But the pastor, of course, doesn't know anything about us. So we continue in this church for month 1, April, month 2, May, month 3, June, July. I remember this particular morning, the bishop was speaking about bitterness. And he said people have carried, okay, I was a very bitter woman, a very bitter girl from inside, from the ministry heartaches and all that. And now this heartache, the one that I got myself into, when now I had to come out of the comfort of the fellowship because of the decision I had made. So I had told God, allow me not to serve, tukutane tu huko heaven iyo siku.
Just hold your thought there. We take a break and then you tell us more. Our viewer, that's the story of Pastor Judy Kagure. It's getting interesting. And I think I think her story is more of like a Jonah. And, but eventually the good news is that she's now in Nineveh and she's doing her assignment. See you after the break. Welcome back, our viewer. My guest, an author, a pastor, Pastor Judy. She's here with me. So tell me, like, before we even get to that 4th month, where Pastor was preaching about bitterness and you are a bitter person, is it a culmination of only ministry or maybe even what you had gone through marriage? Because you had earlier said that anybody wanting to get married to an unbeliever should not just think it's easy.
Yes, because it's ministry plus now the first 4 months, because now, remember, I knew who he was.
Yes.
And we never discussed change. We never sat on a table and said, if I am marrying you, this and this must stop. No, I was just, but he knew I do not approve. So I would just say, by the way, ikitu, you need to like look into it and see how to change. So of course now this will be 4 months that I'll begin to at times be lonely, because of course he will just go back to his buddies. And now me, I can't go back to my buddies because my buddies were like, we told you, we told you. So I'm just here alone in the house. So Sunday would be a good day for me because he would agree. So we'll go to church and then at least we will be together and then we'll stay home. Then of course now I had felt I was kind of justifying myself, and then I was feeling, I don't think there was need to treat me so harshly because of this treatment, or because of this, what decision I made. And then earlier, what had also made me go to now work, to look for a job, was just issues that believers had taken me through. So I was feeling, these believers are too complicated.
What had they done to you?
And I think that's what even made me now decide to marry somebody who is not very much in church, because there was a lot of havoc, hypocrisy, a lot of things were said that were not true. Okay. And they really put me off because I had put my every effort in what I was doing. So at that, I think when I look back, I find that was something the Lord took me through for me to have courage to take this decision. Because I was at a place where if heaven is real, I will get there. But if I need to work with some people, I think wacha nikae tu huku duniani. So I think those are the things
that was the foundation of that bitterness.
Yeah, that bitterness. So it had now culminated. Now I acted out of it. I have now gotten hitched. I'm now living a life that I really have to see how to move on with it. So as the bishop was speaking about bitterness, and after that he spoke and he said he called an altar call. And of course, you know, me and God, we agreed we are meeting in heaven. So these altar calls, me, I don't come forward because we are not together. We are together in that I'm born again, but all these complicated things, I don't want. So the pastor calls and says, there is a lady here. Actually, I will not pray for these people because in my spirit I have a witness. There is a lady here. You are so bitter. In fact, you have told God you are done with ministry. You just want to remain saved and you'll go to heaven. But the Lord is saying to you, your labor, whatever seed you've already put in the ground in the ministry, ought to germinate and ought to bring forth a harvest. And you are done with him, but he's not done with you. So you need to come and just let go everyone that has hurt you. So me, I'm looking and I'm thinking, oh God, you cannot be talking about me because we are not in this level of conversation, like me coming back and all those things of ministry and all that. So I didn't come forward. So the church was more or less a place, the altar was raised. So he took the first step. He said, I know you by the Spirit. If you don't come, I will come for you. So he made the first step, second step. I was seated on the third row. He was at the first row now. He says, now I know you are seated on this side. And as he's saying that, his hand is here, I am seated there. So he turns, and when he was about to like tell me it's you, I don't know what shot me from my seat. So I just jumped from my seat and I started wailing and crying. And then I came to the front. Then he was like, yes, you are the person. I do not know you. I don't know where you've come from. But now he just gave that what he said. Actually, the Lord has a lot for you. You really ought not to give up. Just let go, everyone. Long story short, he concluded now the prayer with everyone that was at the altar. Then he said, he asked Reverend, his wife, I said, I need somebody to talk to this young girl. And I went back to sit. When I went back to sit, before he closes the service, he always asks for people who wants to get saved. So as I went to sit and my face was down like this. My husband was seated on this side. So I didn't even hear the altar call well, but he said, if you're here, you've never known Jesus, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And who stood?
Hey.
My husband stood.
It was a double encounter.
So there was a lady there who knew my story and knew me very well. So she shouted. So when she shouted, I sat up and I saw my husband going to the altar. I just fell down. I said, God, you are just too faithful. You mean my heart has been so bitter, I've held even this guy's life? Because now I've set people free, you've set him free. So my husband walked to the altar and he got born again. And now we started the journey. Now I had to accompany him to discipleship class.
Even you needed to be discipled.
Yeah, so we did discipleship class together. He was baptized. And now every other class in the church, we continued to grow together and we continued. In the meantime, we were trying to get pregnant because I wanted to give birth because my age was a bit gone. And you know, people keep on saying, oh, you must. But of course, I came to realize those are just lies from the enemy. So I'm panicking that I'm not conceiving. But later, after I got married in April, so around June. But I came later to discover it's the Lord who allowed the pregnancy not to come when I wanted it, because word was, I am expectant, that's why I'm getting married. So the Lord decided, those that are waiting for the baby, you really wait. And so so finally I conceived. And as I conceived now, my challenges began. I didn't know that I already had fibroids in me because I had never experienced any issue. But now immediately I conceived, I began to have a lot of pain. So as I continued to visit the doctor said, oh, fortunately you're pregnant, but unfortunately there are fibroids also in your uterus. And it looks like because of the hormonal changes, they are really increasing in size and they are competing with whatever is the baby that is growing in you. So we will just manage and trust God. So, and we continue to manage that pregnancy. As I'm still working in the bank, I've not left the bank yet. So as I'm in the line of duty, I'm 5 months pregnant and we are driving with my colleague. We get into a road accident.
Wow. And
I'm removed from the front seat and I'm put under the dashboard. And I am this big because of the fibroids and everything. So I hit my jaw, it broke, completely shattered. And as they are rushing me to the hospital, I am not even afraid. I am feeling I can't talk because when I try to lift my mouth, I'm feeling like I don't have a mouth. But I'm telling them, you need to check the baby. You need to check the baby. So we get there, they check, the baby is fine. But then they call the surgeon, I have to be stitched, and then they have to put braces. And they put braces and tied up my mouth. For the next 3 months, I would use a straw to just sip the food. And I'm pregnant. So with that shake-up and the fibroids, on the 6th month, the baby decides I'm coming out. And so it's an emergency. We rush to the hospital, and the doctor checks me and checks me again. And the doctor says, I am scared. I don't think we will manage. You've already opened 3 centimeters. This baby has not completely formed. I am seeing a danger of us losing this baby. And I began to tell God, please, allow me not to just go through this. I'm just trying to recover from the accident. Is it possible, though, that you just save this pregnancy? By the grace of God, the baby is held together by some injections, and I'm given bed rest. That night, because it's my husband who took me to the hospital, as he's going home, he has left me in the hospital. I think for him, he sees like the world has come to an end. Remember, he's a young believer. He's not yet stable in faith. And as he's driving, he does not see this truck. And so he rams straight into the truck. And so in the morning, I'm waiting for my visitor to come, because this is the only visitor who knows I am in the hospital. And my visitor does not come. So now, the brother who was convincing me to marry him, I call him, I say, have you, because I call his phone, is not being, no, is Mteja. Sorry, I call my neighbor, I say, is my husband at home? Then my neighbor tells me, no, your car left last night. My neighbor does not even know that I'm not in. He says, your car left last night and I'm seeing lights on, but your car is not at the parking. So I panic. But in me, the Lord tells me he's alive. He's not dead. He's alive, but he's not okay. So I call now this other brother and I say, could you please find out? And his line of calling and calling, they discovered there was an accident that has been reported at night. So they check and they find that he was rushed to Tumor. The vehicle is totally written off, but by the grace of God, he's alive and he's okay. Now I'm in Nyeri in one hospital and he's on the other side. But the only thing I knew in me is that he's alive. So now they have to make arrangements and try and bring him near so that we can, because me, I can't be moved because of my condition. It's easier to move him. So we were moved to the same hospital. Is he hurt? Yeah, he's hurt. His leg, he got his ankle crushed. Okay, what am I saying? It is by the grace of God. He only got his ankle crushed. Like he got the foot, I think he stepped on the whatever. As the car was kneeling, he tried to put the brakes. Yeah. So he crushed the fracture of the ankle. But every other place is intact. But if you look at the car and the person who came out, you're like, there must be angels in heaven. And I believe in the ministry of angels. So he just hurt his leg. So he was brought and we stayed in hospital for about 4 or 5 days. And now we were both discharged. Him, he can't walk. Me, I'm not supposed to do anything in the house because I'm on total bed rest. So who to help who now? Because he can't move. But finally, the Lord gave us, some relatives came and stayed with us. And I sailed through. He recovered and went back to work. And I also recovered and I went back to work. Then I delivered. And after I delivered and went for maternity leave and came back, we are still walking the journey. The Lord began to remind me, remember, you are in the place you are not supposed to be. Your place is the altar. You must begin to see how to go back. And I'm thinking, So I just begin to talk to him and say, my heart is feeling like I need to go back into ministry, but I don't know exactly where to start or what to do. Now, at the new church where we moved, I stayed, of course, quiet for some time. And then I decided just to start from scratch. I started teaching Sunday school again. So because I don't want to go up there. So as we are talking, my husband says, there's no problem. If the Lord leads you, I am okay. I've released you. You keep praying. Whatever door the Lord opens, me, I've released you.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. So in the meantime, I'm not yet I don't know very many people, but in the meantime, I didn't know the church that we are in, they were looking for an office receptionist. So one day my pastor, my reverend, the wife of the bishop, texted me and asked me, what are you trained in? I said, I'm a trained banker. Then she said, have you ever thought of changing careers? Now, because the church has a school, in my thought, I'm thinking, hey, mom does not think I want to be a teacher. Not really. Then I asked her, why do you ask? I said, no, when you have time, just pass by, we have a conversation. And the Lord stamped in my heart, it's time to move. It's time to go back to where I called you. So I exactly told my husband, you know, Mrs. Pastor said, I go and see her. I'm going now. He said, go. So I rushed, I went, so we talked, and then she said, okay, no, we were looking for someone. I don't know why your face keeps on coming. Then me, I'm smiling inside. I'm thinking, God is really real. I told her, yeah, it's okay. The reason why she's not sure, because she's wondering, I'm a banker. So she's trying to connect. How is it possible that the Lord is bringing this lady? So she was thinking, I might know someone.
Yes.
So I told her, by the way, the someone is me. She said, how? But we can't even telephone allowance alone, we can't compare with what I told her. For me, it's not even about the money, it's not even about the allowance. This is something I feel I want to do. Then I gave her my background. She was like, okay, now I get you. Then she said, no, this discussion cannot be between you and me. You need to bring your husband. And now the bishop has to be and then the bishop has to be in this picture because apana. So my husband came and he told them, yeah, this one, maybe I'm the one who diverted her. She ought to be in the kingdom. So I've given her back to you guys. So you take her. So I went back. I wrote my resignation letter and gave the bank 1 month. As soon as I wrote that resignation letter and it was received, my bank was restructuring the same year. The list of those people who are supposed to go home on retrenchment came. My husband's name was number 1. So I cannot recall my letter. This income, in our mind, was our sustenance as I go and do the work of the kingdom. Now the banker said, even you, we don't need you. My baby is 9 months. So what do we do? Do I retract or do I go ahead and trust that the Lord is in this thing?
Wow, hold that thought. Our viewer, that's the wonderful story of Pastor Judy Kagore, and it continues. Share with your friends and family as we hear the rest of the story. See you after the break. So welcome back, our viewers. We hear the last segment of this story, and remember that Pastor Judy has a book. It's called Faith in the Storm. So she'll let us know how you can get it, but it's important that you take note of that. Okay, so your husband is retrenched, you've resigned.
Yes, now we start life afresh. So I confidently tell, I'm this person who believes that there's nothing God cannot do. Even you are watching me, there is nothing that God cannot do. So with confidence, I tell him, there is no problem. Let's apply. You will get another job. So this 1 month of notice that I've given, so I'm kind of on leave, so I'm not going to work myself. And I've not reported at the church because now I was to report that month after. So I helped him do the applications. We did applications and we are thinking, God cannot be this wicked. He must be having something for you. We did about 8 interviews. Not a single one even responded with a regret. And we discovered, we are actually not going to get a job anytime soon. So my time to start working at the church came, and I started working at the church. He's at home now, and he's trying to figure out what next. It is going to be a journey of about 1.5 years of just trying to figure out what next and trusting God. Whatever package he had gotten, we used it to clear the car loan, which we had. So in other words, now we really have to just trust God and maintain what we are having to to be able to move on. Then in the meantime, you know, the way you're thinking, let me go to school and better myself, I might get a job. So the little savings we had, he decided to go and do a master's degree. So we paid school fees. Now we are left with the allowance I'm getting from the church. So it is to pay rent and to eat. But by God's grace, my grandmother just decided to be our visitor almost every other weekend. So she would come with kiondo full of ndomas, what. So my grandmother fed us for almost 3 years without knowing that she's feeding us. The angel was her. She
did not know you lost your job.
But she did not know how badly the situation was.
Yes.
We actually even never told her. Actually, she came to learn later that my husband doesn't work. She didn't know. Because she doesn't stay with us over the week, so she comes on Saturday, and it is normal that people are home on Saturday.
Yeah.
So she came to learn later, when now, I don't know how the story came up. That's how she knew that my husband doesn't work. But for me, she knew I'm back in church, and she was very happy because my grandmother is the one who raised me in faith, and she's a powerful woman of faith. So for her, she was like, hey, you are Motugateri, go back to Motugateri. Don't waste your time here counting money in the bank. So after that, after a long time, my husband now finished his master's, no job yet, and then he really did not want to do a particular job. I will not mention it so that, because I respect the people that do this particular job. It's a sales job. He had really not wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. But now we came to a point where he himself knelt beside the bed and told God, the door you will open for me, I will walk in. Mm-hmm. And the Lord caused somebody who was hiring salespeople to call him immediately after that prayer. So he was hired and he worked and sold policies for insurance companies for almost for 4 years. But all those of us that work for insurance companies, you know, by the time you get paid commission, you have done a lot of work.
Yes.
So his first paycheck was about 3,000 shillings. And it was after, I think, 6 months. I can't even remember. Wow. So it was a journey now where people are thinking, God has not channeled with you. That sin you committed, marrying.
Well, you are still paying for it.
You are still paying for it. Now his suits that he used to wear in the bank changed color from black to brown because of walking around. His shoes, katika duko, because of walking around. Then we maintained our smile. And we maintained the car, but we could not even afford to fuel it. So we would drive the car and park it somewhere. Then he would go his way, I would go my way. Then we would meet there. We would count coins, 100 shillings, fuel the car, it will get back home. So I tell people, even when you see people driving around, don't be shocked. They might even not even be affording that fuel. It should not even undermine you. Just keep holding your head high. Don't be tissued with cars. So after about 5 years of suffering, after about 5 years, let me say not suffering, of building our faith, because the Lord was building us. I got expectant now with my second child. That was in 2015. I delivered our second born. And when I delivered our second born, tunasemanga alikuwa hiyo time ya wilderness is when I got her, and it was when the Lord was about to exit us now to another season, but we also did not know that we are exiting that season. When I talk about faith in the storm, I want people to understand, you need to understand there are those things you must go through, but there are those things you can stop by saying you must end. Mm-hmm. But there are things even if you say you must end, until they finish their lesson, they will not go anywhere. Yeah. So when I got pregnant, I gave birth and my baby was born normal. No problem at all, and we were discharged and we went home. On the 7th day, which was on a Friday morning, I woke up and discovered the baby has not breastfed through the night. So because I was a CS mother, and my mom was with me, I just told her, Mom, kindly check. My husband woke up and took our daughter to school. So as I woke up, I asked my mom to check the baby because the baby has not breastfed. My mama checked, she changed her diaper, and she said, just put her on the breast. You see whether she ameamka. So I put her on the breast. She put the breast in her mouth, then she spit the breast. So I told Mom she has refused. Then my mom came back and she looked at the baby. My mom is a nurse. So at a look at the baby, she could tell that the baby is beginning to struggle to breathe. So she told me, jump, toka kwa kitanda, dress up. As soon as your husband gets back, we are going to the hospital. If you know a pediatrician, kindly call them. We find them standby. So I tried to call 3 of my doctor's friends. Coincidentally, that morning, nobody was picking the phone. When the Lord wants to take you through a journey, he will make sure those people you think are of quick help, they will not answer. So they didn't answer. So we got into the car. What I did not know is that when I went to the bathroom to shower, the baby actually stopped breathing. But my mom did CPR and the baby started breathing. So as we are going to the hospital, the baby is breathing. But my mom carried the baby facing this way. So she didn't want me to realize that the situation is bad. So me, in my mind and in my heart, I am not even thinking there is something wrong.
Wow.
No. So we reached to the hospital. No, on our way to the hospital now, I call the phone of my bishop, who I rarely call. Coincidentally, that day he has left his phone at home and he has gone to the office. But his daughter picks the phone, sees my missed call, and calls the office and says, Dad, you need to call Judy. I've seen her missed call on your phone. I never call him, and I'm on maternity leave. So he immediately called my phone, but then I didn't pick because I'd forgotten. My husband picked, and my husband told him, we are on our way to the hospital, it's the baby. Then he just said, okay, let's meet there. We arrive at the hospital, the doctor checks, and the doctor says, straight to ICU. At that point, it dawned on me like, pa, something is wrong. I just began to shout at the outpatient, speaking in tongues, and I canceled death. Like a mad woman for about 2-3 minutes, I was causing havoc at the outpatient. My mom tried to grab me. I told her, Mom, just leave me alone. This one is between me and God. So as they took the baby to the ICU, they grabbed me and put me in a side room because I was shouting a lot. And in that side room for about 10 minutes, I engaged heaven. And I placed a demand. And I told God, you know, you are God. You are faithful. I have put my life in your hands. This cannot happen to me, not my baby. Even if you want to take her, not now. Let's agree, not now. I negotiated with heaven, and in my spirit, I knew I was fighting death, but I refused it. And I demanded no. I called every intercessor that as I calmed down and we are now heading to the ICU to meet my husband, I told my mom, I had numbers of my friends, intercessors, so I could tell mom, text this one, text this one, text this one. By the time we got there, my bishop had already come in and had gone into the ICU, and he stayed there with the doctor for a couple of minutes as we were waiting for them to settle the baby. As he walked out, he walked straight and looked at me, straight in the eyes, and he said, Judy, whatever happens, do not lose your faith. And he said, I'll be seeing you. Let the doctor finish with the baby. You'll go in and see the baby. In my mind, I'm thinking, the kind of faith I've raised, I don't think, and the kind of intercessors that are praying for this child, nothing will go wrong. So the doctor says, let's do some tests so that we see what is causing this. And this, they are not telling me what it is. So as they are doing the checkup, they say, now let me be given a bed, and then my mom and my husband go home and bring me a change of clothes and diapers because we had just left. I think I was even in slippers. So as my mom and my husband go back home, the room where I was put, I just sat at the window and I prayed and I called on heaven and said, Father, you know, that year our church theme was the year of supernatural manifestation. And I told God, this is a testimony in the making. Let that supernatural power that brings people back to life, I'm not talking of breath, that brings breath back, let it come. So it was it ended up being a very long day because it took us the whole day. Then at about noon, I went back to check whether the results came from the lab, and they took me like this. Then at around 4, they called me, the doctor called me, and when he called me, I went and sat, and he had the file of my child in front of him. And as I entered the ICU, I could see her bed, and the bed looked like people had, like there was warfare there. There was cotton wool, many things. But the baby was there, but I noticed the pipes are more than the way they were. But faith refuses to see things. It looks like madness.
So what was diagnosed?
There was no diagnosis. So he's trying to tell me, Mama, you know your child was very sick. The minute he said was, I did not want to hear the story. I said, Doctor, I still believe in miracles. I stood and I left. I did not agree for him to tell me that my child is normal. I went back to the bench and I told God, I need a new heart. I need a new brain. Whatever is dead in that baby, I need it now, because you are able to do it. By this time, My pastor, my bishop's wife has come, Reverend, and she seated with me here. And I'm telling her, Mom, so we're asking for a new heart. Her in her spirit, the Lord has already, actually in the morning, the Lord already had confirmed the baby will not sail through. So she would not agree to pray in English. She was just praying in tongues. She was praying for me to come to the place of knowing this baby is not coming back. So for her, she told me, yeah, we are trusting God. Then she stood and told me, you stay here, let me go inside. So when my mom came with my husband, they all went inside. My mom is a nurse. So at one look, she knew this baby is no more. So she didn't come out. They all stayed inside there because nobody wants to come out. Because me, I am at that level, we are waiting for the angels to bring the organs. So my friends have already come. They are, my doctor friends that had looked for Mchana, they have come. They are inside there. They have found the situation is not reversible. So none of them wants to come to where I am. So after some time, I think they decide I need to be called in just to begin to process. So when I walked in, and one of the doctors, I think she wanted to begin to, my friend, to explain to me the situation. I walked in and I told them, hey, you guys, you look scared. Why do you look scared? You know angels are on the way, bringing the organs for my baby. So nobody could talk and tell me. My husband had already begun and had already released the baby. And because he heard the way I'm talking, he walked out. So when he walked out, I also told them, let me just continue sitting there. When the situation changes, mutaniita. Mimi nikarudi kwa kiti yangu ya maombi, rabahasha, mahanda bakada. Within the minute I left and the minute I sat, Holy Ghost just told me, Judy, can you still trust me even if, wow, she does not come back to life? It hit me so hard. But it hit me with so much strength
and peace.
And peace. I went back. When I went back, I stood next to her bed. And I said, baby, you are such a beauty. I said, Father in heaven, you had given me a good gift. You chose for me to carry a baby for heaven. I accept. You have hurt me so deeply, but I know you will heal me. But one thing I want you to do for my husband and my baby girl, my firstborn daughter, just know what to do with them. As for me, tutadil pamoja. But these two, just know what to do with them. And at that moment, I released her. The machine just went. 7 p.m., 29th of May, 2015. Baby Suzanne stopped breathing. And she was received in heaven by the angels. I have an angel there. She's there. She's waiting for us to finish the race. Yeah. She joined the crowd of witnesses to cheer us up, to keep on walking. I turned to my friends and I told them, guys, thank you for being here. It was such a powerful prayer movement the whole day. The Lord has answered our prayers. We can go home. They thought I am mad. They thought I am too much in denial. I need help. I firmly went home. That night we had people. The following Saturday morning, when I hit the shower, is when the reality hit me. When I saw the scar. I have a CS scar, but I don't have a child. And the enemy would want now to begin to speak. And immediately the Lord ministered to me with a song. Adonai, you reign on high. We will rise in your name. I began to sing that song as the water was hitting my head, and I was crying and crying and crying. And the water was running down. And he told me only two things. I am the Lord that reigns. Wow. I opened the shower door, went, knelt at my bed for about an hour. When I rose from there, Reverend, I did not have any resentment. Wow. I did not have any pain. Even as people were coming now to encourage us, I was giving the story that I'm giving now, and they are thinking, is Pathy okay? Ako sawa? Wow. So we laid her to rest. And her laying to rest ceremony was a praise session, because I sang, I danced, and I thanked the Lord in my pain. And the doctor told me, now you need to rest. You don't need to get pregnant again. We need to heal the scar, the wound in the heart and the wound in the body. And I told the doctor it's okay. But 4 months later, I'm pregnant. And the doctor says, how will we? The same way the Lord has taken me through, even this one, don't worry about the scar, it shall be well. And I carried the pregnancy, and in 2016, August 5th, the Lord brought me Faraja. We called her Faraja because she was a comfort. Yeah. She came after her sister. And Faraja grew up as a good girl, no complications at all. But at birth, she had cord around the neck, so it was an emergency CS. She grew up and she turned 2. After her second birthday, about February 2019, Faraja began to stare, just like to zoom out. And then would joke and would say, "Ay, kwani wewe wanaongeanga na nani anazoomingi out?" Then with time, her left eye began to twitch. And when the eye began to twitch, we took note, and my husband said, "Ay, apana, I don't think this is a joke now." So her cheek now began to twitch. So now we thought we need to get advice. So we kept on postponing when we will take her to the doctor. So I took the phone and called one of my pediatricians, doctor friend, and I described what is happening. And he said, "I would advise you see a pediatrician. We need to know why those twitches are there." And with time, just because of time, just to make it short, we saw a pediatrician, but we were not even seeing a pediatrician. We had gone to see another doctor who we told the story, and then he said, "You guys are not living here. Let me call a doctor." So when he called the pediatrician came. We gave him the history. Then he said, "What I want you to do, I need her brain checked with an EEG, like what they do to the heart." Yeah. So, and because it was on a Saturday, you guys can go on Monday and then bring me the results. The night of Sunday, so that we can go for the EEG on Monday, as I was sleeping, as I woke up, I saw on my baby's head things like the way wires za stima zinashikananga, and then there is those, they are called what? Those sparks.
Yeah.
I saw on her head like sparks. Then I told my husband, come and see. Then he's asking me, "See what?" He can't see. I told him, the way the doctor said, let's go and have the brain checked, because me, I've seen their wires, like they are touching each other in the head. Anyway, the Lord always shows us things. So when we went for this EEG, the doctor checked, and then they gave us the results, and we went to take them to the pediatrician. And the pediatrician said, there's something abnormal with her brain activity.
Wow.
And then I'm thinking, this girl is so normal. She talks, she walks, she doesn't have issues. And then the doctor says, what you see on her left side is what we call absentia seizures. Then I'm so explaining layman's language, what is that? Then he mentions epilepsy. And I sit up and I'm thinking, my child, epi what? The doctor says, no, I'm not saying she has epilepsy, but it's a type, but it's not advanced. What we will do, we will start her on medication, and then we'll continue to do more investigation just to see where this is coming from. Rev, at that point, I'm thinking, epilepsy, my child, and we need to do more investigations. Lord, this is not happening. That time I've already relocated. I'm now in Nakuru. I'm no longer in Nyeri. So as the doctor gives us the medicine, he says, kindly note, when you start this medicine now, the patient takes it for 2 years before we change. So I'm asking, the child will have to take. He says yes. Then says, go do a CT scan, go do an MRI. We give the medication. Now, as we move on, by the first week, when the week is ending, you'd think now because we've gotten medication, the twitches will go away. The twitches graduated. Wow. To full-blown seizures, epileptic seizures. Wow. So she would just...
At the age of 2.
Yeah, so she would just twitch. And then the most helpless thing, and I want mamas just to be encouraged, the most helpless thing when you have a child who has episodes of seizures, be it because of cerebral palsy, be it because of autism or epilepsy full-blown, the helpless thing is that there's nothing you can do when the seizures come. You just have to wait for them to take the process. Because you can't hold her so that they stop. If they're going to take a second or 10 or 2, you just have to just be there, just make sure she's safe, she's not hit. So as the seizures intensified, my heart began to tremble, and I began to tell God, Father, you see, the enemy begins to take you back to 2015.
So because of time, where are you at now? How is the baby?
Where the baby is good. They ended up finding there was a brain tumor in the baby, and I stood and said, anaweza itapika, isi lazima ifanye surgery. I refused surgery. By faith, I refused. But the Lord wanted me to trust him that he can take my baby to a theater and bring him and bring her out. Yeah. Then to trust him for the finances, because we didn't have the finances. The Lord provided the finances. We had a brain surgery done in April this year. And we are in the recovery journey. Now, because of the seizures that she had, she ended up now getting other challenges. So she's special in a way. So now we have to learn to live with her and to help her now come back to her normalcy as she's recovering. But we are still on medication, but the medication now is being lowered. The dosage is being lowered.
Glory to God.
And we give God all the glory. What do I want to say? Believers, we have walked battles, we have fought battles, but at the same time, the enemy has confused us, and we have not sought the help we need to seek medically. I am one person who I know, I took a whole year to agree with a brain surgery because I was waiting for my daughter to either vomit that tumor or it melts. Yeah. But the miracle was in the going and in the coming out. There are those tumors the Lord will melt. Yep. There are those sicknesses he will give instant healing. Yeah. But there are those sicknesses
that he has already provided.
Yeah, he has provided solution. And there are those situations that he will provide grace for you to walk in. Yeah. Some people feel if you have a special needs child, it's a curse. It's not.
It's not.
It is a gift from above.
Yes.
The Lord trusts you enough to raise that child and to know that that home will provide what that child wants. So, Mama, be encouraged. Families, be encouraged. Keep your eyes on Jesus.
Amen.
Though the ship will be wrecked, you'll still stand. God
Amen.
Bless you.
If somebody wants to buy your book or talk to you, especially people that have special children, it's not an easy journey.
Yes.
So kindly talk to them and probably share your number or your contacts. How can they reach you? For you to reach me, we can talk more. My number is 0710 766 836. On Facebook, you can say the number again.
Or the number is 0710 766 836.
Okay.
On Facebook, I'm Judy Kagore Ligaga.
Wow, what a testimony of grace. And make sure you just call and contact her for very genuine reasons so that we give room for her to minister to really need cases. And to the man of God, that Mr. Ligaga, we salute you, sir, and we pray that even baby Faraja will be fine because God of miracles is still at work.
Yes.
Thank you for coming all the way from Nakuru and sharing your story with us. God bless you and see you again.